Well, welcome back to another edition of Book Nook. I'm here with resident Sandy Ellers, and we're here to talk about the library book talk coming up this month that Sandy will be hosting. Thank you for joining me today.
I'm delighted to be here, my dear. Thank you.
And so let's just begin. What is the book that you will be reviewing at the book talk?
I'm going to be talking about Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was a personal friend of our family, so this makes it very special for me to be able to do that. This is a book that Bret Baier and Catherine Whitney co-wrote. Catherine Whitney does a lot of nonfictional writing. She's quite famous for it. The book is organized beautifully. I was envious of how well they wrote it. Dwight Eisenhower was very famous for a speech he made. It was called the Farewell Speech. And he made it in January of 1961. And in that speech, he talked about the military complex. And that was something, that, an expression, a term that no one had ever heard before. And he had been president for 8 years, and what he was explaining was that we had created a situation where so many people in industry and private business were making so much money producing missiles and producing things that we needed for war, that it was out of hand. And Eisenhower was a great believer that you don't invent a weapon that is never used. And he had been against the bombing of Hiroshima. In his farewell address, he warned the American people about the crisis that could come if we continued to produce more and more weapons. And the thing that I love about the book, and one of the things I'm going to concentrate on when I'm talking with my Shell Point friends and neighbors, is the beauty of the books covering all of Eisenhower's life. To understand the farewell speech, you have to realize how he grew up. You have to realize the foundation of his faith. He had a very, very deep religious faith, and he always played it down because his parents were Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh, wow, okay.
And you know, the Jehovah's Witnesses don't salute the flag, they don't believe in the government,
Right.
you know, all these kinds
That's
of things.
interesting.
Yo, it's a fascinating book. I was very, very impressed. These were things I knew just because he was a friend of the family. And this book covers this very, very well. And I'm going to discuss all those kinds of issues.
Yeah, we can't give it all away, but I think it's amazing, too, that you have such a special connection with this book because of your personal connection with Eisenhower. So I think that would make it even more special when you're discussing it, even when reading it. You were probably, like you said, you loved this book so much because you knew him. And it painted the picture so well of his life. And like you said, so in the book, does it highlight his whole life, or just is it the final?
No, it highlights his whole life.
Okay.
And interestingly, but the book is so rich. Honestly, I should have talked to Terry Colath and do like about 4 classes on the book so I could cover everything. But what I'm going to really concentrate on, which maybe will sound a little strange, but when I do this will make all kinds of sense, I'm going to concentrate a lot about his youth and childhood and his time at West Point and how he developed into the kind of person he was that allowed him to be able to lead as he led and put the Nazis down and all of the things he did. It was just remarkable.
It's very unique, and I think this is going to be a very popular book talk this month, especially for those who love history and want to go back into that time and learn about that and hear from you. And I think this is a very interesting.
You should come.
I know. I'm like very intrigued by this right now. This is, like you said, it was before my time, so it's like a learning lesson for me. But maybe people residents coming to your discussion will learn so much more that they didn't know before.
Well, you know what's interesting about the book talks? There will be people possibly in the audience that know more than I do about the subject. You know, we have such a range of wonderful people that have had wonderful experiences here at Shell Point. So I don't think I'm the only Eisenhower fan.
Well, we'll find out. It's on Tuesday,
Yes.
January 23rd at 2:15 in the Social Center. And what would you say to anyone watching right now if they've never gone to a book talk? What would you say to invite them to come?
Well, I love the book talks. I live over at Eagles Preserve, which is like living in Seattle. You know, we're off the beaten track. And so I have to get in my car and drive. But this is what sets Shell Point apart from most retirement situations. We have such a rich group of residents here. And the discussions that come out of these talks are wonderful. So if people haven't been to the book talks before, I'd encourage them to come, just because I think it's a dimension that makes me go get in my car and drive over, you know, because I really, really appreciate them. And I'm honored that Sally asked me to do this, and I'm happy to do it. I've done this sort of thing my whole life. And it's fun to do it. I do it on all kinds of subjects, but it's fun to do it on someone that you really knew and you really admired.
Yeah, you really know your topic.
I know my topic.
Well, we hope to see everyone there. It's again on Tuesday, January 23rd at 2:15 in the Social Center. And if you haven't come out, give it a try and come hear from Sandy yourself. Thank
Okay.
you for joining me today.
You're very welcome, my dear.